Yes, it's great to have great dreams, but what you should do is have lots of little objectives, yeah, day by day, week by week, month by month, which help you towards your final goal. But don't try and go too fast, yeah? Make sure you've learned correctly what you're doing first and break bigger goals into smaller objectives, yeah? Because psychologically, when you arrive at the small objective, it's already a success. So celebrate that success. Don't let that success go unnoticed. You know, you've got to say, let's celebrate that, yeah? And then move on to the next one, yeah? But don't try and do it all at once, yeah?
So hi everyone and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. This is your host Neha at peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that's specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and channel that receives more than 200,000 visitors a year, and we also publish several interviews with well-known names globally every month. In today's episode, we have with us Robertson. Robertson is a leadership specialist and author whose primary role and mission has been to help managers improve their skills through an approach based on mentoring and coaching on an individual basis. He's the author of The Incredible Value of Employee Power, and he's also a well-known management and business consultant. To know more about him, he stands by the quote by Richard Branson, train them well enough so that they can leave and treat them well enough so that they don't. So I'm very intrigued to get into a conversation with Robertson. Robertson, it's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
It's a pleasure to be here, Sneha. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay, so let's jump right into it. I'm very excited to start the interview. So the first question that I want to really ask you, Robertson, is that when I went through your profile, I read that when you arrived in France in 1992 at the age of 30, you had to start all over. So I can imagine that while your struggle has been difficult, it must also be very inspiring. So would you like to share your story with our viewers and our listeners?
Yes, indeed. I arrived in France when I was 30. I'd already had a previous career in finance, in actual fact, in Scotland, yeah. And in fact, what I was doing at that time, it was nothing to do with what I did when I came to France, because actually my first studies were actually in chemistry. So chemistry, then I went to finance, and I worked in finance most of my life up until the age of 30 in Scotland. And then when I arrived in France, I didn't speak French. So very difficult to get a job in finance when you can't express yourself in the language, yeah?
Right.
So basically, we were looking through the ads with my future wife at that time, and we saw that there was an opportunity in Disney in Paris. And Disneyland in Paris was opening actually in April of 1992. So we saw this, and I thought this is a great opportunity. And when I went there, I asked, I needed any job. I had to start to work. I just,
right.
Of course. And then I got a job as what they call a cast member A, which was actually to sweep the street, to pick up the cigarette butts and then scrape the chewing gum off the ground. So it was a very good experience. I was very happy to have a job, and of course then that allowed me to actually acquire French, because the people I were working with, all of them only spoke French. So this was a great way to learn French.
Yeah.
So that's how it all started off. And at that time, because we were starting again, we lived in a 10-meter squared apartment with my future wife at the time, who is still my wife today. And basically, it was one meal a day. It was one coffee. I was allowed one coffee a day, and it was hard work, That's how it all started out in any case. And then I was very lucky because I was given the opportunity by some very good managers and supervisors when I showed that I was willing to get the opportunity to become a supervisor and work my way up from there.
Robertson, this is something that I tell all of the influencers that I've interviewed so far, that, this is actually really inspiring. But I feel like there's a whole new meaning to it today when I'm saying that to you. Because there are very few people who actually know how to count their blessings and, just take what they have and make the most of it. And you are a living example of that. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. The second question that I want to ask you is, could you speak a little about your book, The Incredible Value of Employee Power?
Well, the incredible value of employee power. The reason I wrote this book was because a few months ago, in fact, it was last year, I was discussing with another business friend about customer experience, yeah. And I basically argued for the point to say, no, I think that really the customer experience is really based first and foremost on the employee experience. This person disagreed with me on this. This happens, yeah. I disagreed that his point of view wasn't the same. And I couldn't, no matter how I argued it, I couldn't convince the person that I was correct in this instance. So what I decided to, I went home and thought about it, and then I thought, well, I'm going to write about this. And that's what inspired me in the first place to write the book. And what also inspired me was because throughout my career, yeah, I'd also seen a lot of very good things happen to people and a lot of very bad things happen through good and bad management or good and bad leadership, yeah. So those two things together, the fact that I couldn't convince this person and the fact that I'd seen all this through my career, yeah, really inspired me to write the book, yeah. And you said earlier, I've also been inspired by people like Richard Branson and really truly believe what you said earlier, you know, that you train people so they can leave and then treat them well enough so that they don't, yeah?
Right.
And that was another cornerstone, fundamental cornerstone of the book, yeah, was to say that was something I believe in. And also, the thing that really struck me the most is the fact that we have to be more employee-centric today and not so much consumer or guest-centric. Because after all, the real, what produces the value is the employee, yeah, for the customer, and it's not the customer himself, yeah.
Yeah, right. I feel like that's a very powerful quote right there, and the fact that, you know, your book is heavily influenced by your personal experiences, I just feel like that makes it a very, very rich book, and I would love to read that for sure.
Well, the central theme of the book is, thank you very much for saying that, Sneha, first of all. The central theme of the book is about care. It's how to care for your employees, yeah?
Right.
Now, when you take the word care, yeah, you can actually say customers are really everything, yeah, if you use the mnemonic for that, yeah? But I prefer another mnemonic, which I actually invented in the book, which is called ear, you know, so you're listening, yeah? So employees are really everything, yeah? Because without the employees, you know, you can take care of the customer as much as you want, but who's looking after the customers? It's your employees. Right. It's not you as a manager or leader, it's your employees that are looking after the customer, yeah?
Right. I feel like this approach is breaking down the big picture into smaller steps, and then taking care of those steps wholeheartedly first to lead to the bigger picture. So I love that you have that insight, and I'm sure that our audience will also appreciate that a lot.
Thank you very much for saying that.
Moving on to the next question. So we're prone to believing that, you know, universal phenomena are interpreted the same universally. However, it's also true that our perception of them are to an extent shaped by individual experiences. So in light of that, what does the term leadership mean to you?
Well, leadership is first and foremost, it's people-oriented, yeah? It's people-focused, I should say, yeah? A lot of people talk today about the difference between leadership and management and being a manager or being a boss and what the difference is, or should you be a leader, should you be a boss, should you be a manager? It's quite confusing. But for me, true leadership, yeah, is when you're completely focused on the people, yeah? Because at the end of the day, management, yeah? Management is about being task-orientated, yeah? Organizing, yeah? Now, you can organize people, obviously, yeah? You can organize tasks, you can organize time. So that's all part of being a good manager, yeah? But when you want to lead people, yeah, you can't manage like that. It's not a task, yeah? You have to give them a vision and you have to lead by example. That's what I really think, yeah? And you have to be very, very critical in your thinking and in your listening skills. Listening skills are the most critical skill of a manager, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, is to be able to listen attentively. Yeah?
I feel like everybody listens, right? But then at the end of the day, it's these little skills that need sharpening. So, you know, a lot of people, when asked this question, what does leadership mean to you? they have very elaborate answers. But I love how your advice about this is so simple. It's just on honing one skill that you have. And if you do that, you can get everything else that you want.
Well,
So
of
I really
course,
love that. Yeah, I
it's
really love that.
and you're right, because at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, there's the other part of management. First of all, it's listening. That's the critical skill, yeah. And the other thing about being a great leader is to provide a safe environment for your workforce, yeah.
Yes,
And by safe, I mean an environment where people can express themselves, where they are listened to,
yes,
where their ideas are taken into account, and
absolutely.
where you give action. There's always action behind, yes. So
Yes, yes.
it's not just you listen. It's interesting what you said earlier, because you hit on a very interesting point, Sneha, which is that a lot of the time it looks like people are listening, yeah, but they're actually not. A lot of the time, what people are doing, they're actually thinking about what they're going
What
to
to
answer
say?
or what
Yes,
they're going to say, and they're
exactly,
not
exactly.
listening to the person in front of them, yeah. That's why I'm saying, once again, that's a really critical skill for leaders and managers, is to be able to listen properly, yeah.
Right, right, absolutely. Moving on to the next question. So, what are some of the moments in your career journey that led you to a reinforced belief in your work?
Well, I think it's when I take over something. Actually, it's a period when I started to have very, very big teams to take care of. Yeah. What I mean by that is I ran during my career up until the current time. I've ran a big hotel company. I was CEO of a hotel company in France and Europe. I was also the general manager of the 3 biggest hotels in Europe. Yeah. Which all have 1,000 rooms or more. Yeah, so you're dealing with teams between 700 and 1,000 people. Yeah.
Wow.
So obviously, what happens is you can't manage every single person individually.
Yes.
So what you have to be able to do is that with your executive team, yeah, your managers that work with you, you have to be able to practice a participative style of management, and you have to be able to delegate. Now what I learned from that is you're not on your own. No man's an island, yeah? You're surrounded by experts, and you have to be able to listen to them, but you have to be able to have trust and confidence in those experts, because after all, I'll give you an example. If you're, as I was, the Directeur Général, was in French, or the general manager, you're not the best expert in finance. You're not the best expert in HR. You're not the best expert basically in operations, yeah, whether it's front office, whether it's in the floors, whether it's housekeeping, whatever it is, yeah. There are experts there. You've got to learn to listen to the advice and take the advice, yeah, and build relationships with those people so that they trust you and they have confidence in your decision making as a leader, yeah. Then it all comes together, yeah. But as I said, no man's on his own, yeah. And that's what I learned is you've got to everyone says the same phrase all the time, which is true. It's team, isn't it? Yeah. Together, everyone achieves more, and it's so true. That's what my experience would tell me.
Yes. I think from what I'll take away from this answer is the fact that there are so many things present around us. All we have to do is just look and know when to take that opportunity. Make the most of everything.
Yeah, you have to have confidence in your team, and you have to build confidence, and you have to know your team very well. So know what they are capable of, and also what they're not capable of. Exactly. But I firmly believe in working, and this is very American what I'm going to say. I'm not American, I'm Scottish. But what I will say is that I believe in working to people's strengths. You know, too often what managers do instead of leaders, what managers do is they'll tend to work and always say, we need to improve here, we need to improve there. And what they don't focus on is the strong point in the person in front of them. But I think it's much more productive to focus on people's strong points and work to their strengths. Yeah. Yes. Gives better results.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Okay. And on a passing note, with a very heavy heart, we have come to the last question.
Okay.
So, so Robertson, what advice would you like to give our viewers and listeners about trusting their own gut and believing in their dreams?
Well, the advice I would give it's all to do, people often have big goals. And what happens a lot of the time to people is that they'll make a huge goal for themselves and say, I want to be, I don't know, the president of the company, or I want to be chief executive officer. and they'll try and go too fast. What you need to do is, and I think from my own experience this shows, what you need to do is bite off in small steps things, yeah? Yes, it's great to have great dreams, but what you should do is have lots of little objectives, yeah? Day by day, week by week, month by month, which help you towards your final goal, but don't try and go too fast, yeah? Make sure you've learned correctly what you're doing first and break bigger goals into smaller objectives, yeah? Because psychologically, when you arrive at the small objective, it's already a success. So celebrate that success. Don't let that success go unnoticed. You know, you've got to say, let's celebrate that, yeah? And then move on to the next one, yeah? But don't try and do it all at once, yeah?
Yes, yes, because that just sucks the fun out of everything. What's the point?
Exactly,
then,
it just leads to frustration, yeah? When you do that.
Exactly. So Robertson, I take that you're a very jovial person, and it was very nice talking to you. I want to thank you not just for your time, but more importantly for your valuable insight. Because it's one thing to actually speak about things that you've learned, but it's a whole other thing when you speak about your experiences. And I feel like that is a very, very valuable thing. Thank you so much for doing that with us today.
Well, thank you very much, Sneha. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for the invitation. I very much enjoyed our conversation.